This video is to help you with drawing your own Nordic dragon in the Urnes style from 11th to 12th century. This builds on the concepts that we used before in the other videos. So the first thing I'm going to explain for you to do is start with a fresh piece of paper. First thing that you need in your drawing is to decide the placement of the head of the dragon. So that all kind of has something to do with drawing that almond-shaped, classic Urnes style eye. So it's basically like a leaf shape, an ellipse with a point, okay, teardrop for another term that you could use. And what you're going to do is follow the contour line over the top of the dragon's head. Draw the nose out, and it's very important you kind of get this little bit of a curlicue pigtail, kind of to give him a little bit of a sinister kind of look. Draw out the bottom jaw and kind of bring in one of those curlicues, also a very distinct part of the style. And bring the head back towards the body. Okay. Next thing you're going to do is give him a vicious looking horn. And most of these drawings, you're going to notice they are very kind of flat and one-dimensional looking. There isn't a lot of shadow. You're kind of seeing things just sort of almost like the Egyptian style, just from one, as if you cut them in half, okay, just flat. And you can always add to it. It's your drawing. So for instance, maybe I'll overlap another horn back here, so it does look like he has two. The other thing I might add is a bit of an eyebrow to give him a little bit more of a vicious look. And furthermore, something important to the style are sort of these triangular shaped pattern pieces with hatch marks and cross hatch. Okay, so the next thing you're going to do is draw yourself a little bit of a Tyrannosaurus Rex claw. One, two, leave a little space, and another. You don't need a heck of a lot. The reason is this is supposed to be kind of just an illustration style. It's not a three-dimensional drawing, so you're trying to just give it a little bit of a gesture drawing. So what I do next is I kind of plan out using the shape of an ellipse, sort of some negative space to build on. This is where you're going to develop your overlap. So this is these two circles, ovals, ellipses, they're kind of like, they're sort of like a map where you're going to go. So first thing you want to do is start scooching, and that's my Mrs. Freeze official term, scooching your line along the way to form this curled up dragon. And what I want to do is sort of absorb the shape of this ellipses into the curve. Nothing should be harsh. Everything should be very smooth. Inch your pencil along. Don't make any, I call them committed lines, okay? Just kind of take your time working around. Now, you'll notice I've started to overlap here, and my negative space, this hole where he's going to curve over, is disappearing. So like I said, that is just a marker to kind of give you a place to start. So I want to sort of have him have the same width all around. And what I want it to look like is his body is twisting in on itself. So I'm going to close this up even further. So I'm going to turn this around, and I'm drawing a lot darker than you should. Okay. So I've had to do some pairing, some shaving, some adding here. All right. So right now, it looks like his body is turned and created an under portion. So what goes under has to come back out the other side. So draw with your eye, not your pencil, across. And draw with your eye, not your pencil, across. And actually, I'm going to turn it up a little bit. This is where you really have to kind of play with your own, because you don't want any sharp lines. I'm going to draw with my eye, not my pencil, and start bringing this line up in this direction. So I'm just going to alter my camera just ever so much, see a little more of my background. So I'm going to start turning this way. Okay. And now I'm going to overlap over his head. Okay. And I'm going to work my way all the way to the other ellipses that I made until it matches. Okay. Same thing. I'm going to scooch. I want this to have a nice smooth curve. He's a very undulating round body. Yep, I talk in funny voices sometimes just for the fun of it. And it's overlapping right towards his face. I'm drawing nice and loosely here, and I'm going to come around and bring it this way. So this shape that I drew was just, like I said, it's like a map. So now what I want to do is I want to look like, and he got really skinny here, so I got to fix that. I want to look like he turns around on himself. So all that negative space that I plotted, it's changing. It's okay. Totally can change, right? It was just kind of like a marker on my paper, kind of like I need to reach to that spot. Okay, so I use my space well. So I have tiny negative space here, and I have much larger negative space here. So again, I'm going under his body. I'm looking with my eye, not my pencil, and now I'm gonna go right off the page. Why not? Okay, if it comes right off the page, I imagine that the curve comes back again. And maybe, why not? Why don't we overlap the next part of his body across? So again, nice smooth lines, okay? This is gonna kind of cover over some of that negative space. I'm going to go straight across. I'm gonna overlap the whole thing. Why not? Okay? So he really overlapped himself. Himself, herself, they self, whoever. And I'm gonna have him go right off the page again. Whoop. I'm gonna leave it like that for the moment. Now, a couple of key things that are really good for decorative purposes. Starting by following that contour line of his body and adding a stippling dot line across the edge, okay? That's something that you're gonna see, and you'll see it sort of as a symmetrical pattern going in both directions, all right? So you could line that up all the way around. I'm not gonna take the time to do that. The next thing you'll see in this particular Urnes style is this sort of kind of like a vine that's wrapped around the dragon. So I'll just bring this a little closer to you. So this is going to be negative space. This is going to look like a little coil going around. So I went over his body. So now I got to erase these lines. This little coil is going to go over and sneak under. Okay. Go with your eyes, not your pencil, and come back out. All right. And then I can make a little bit sharper of a turn with this. Okay. I'm going to come back and cross back over. So it looks like it's coiled around like barbed wire or like a rose thorn. Okay. So then I'm going to go underneath him one more time. I'm going to follow with my eye and I'm going to bring it out the other side. And then these are often finished with sort of like a flourish or like that same pigtail. So they look almost like they're like a vine. And you'd want to do the same thing around the rest of your monster. Now, one last thing I'll mention, and I don't want this video to be too long because that would be boring. So I went under. Actually, I want to have it sneak back over and under again. Is one more thing that I'd like to mention is often the monster, the lizard, okay, the dragon, he's seen eating his tail. Like he's created this never-ending cycle, like the Vikings. They're just never-ending. They're willing to fight to the death. So I'm going to imagine this tail coming all the way back. You're not seeing much of it. You're only seeing part because it went off the page and it came back. And now I'm going to sneak back underneath and I'm going to put that tail, I'm going to make it pointy and sharp, and I'm going to put it right there as if he was this never-ending cycle. He's willing to eat his tail. And voila, this is about what you use to get started. Thanks.